futuristic than previous Trek shows, it was difficult for Enterprise to forge its own identity. Braga later stated in the special features that the Temporal Cold War was a nifty idea, but probably would have worked better as a separate show.
Ah, yes. What's reality? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and wherever you are, welcome to Dreamy Land with your Sensei Bob. I am agreed here to tell you the stories. And so it's 27 seconds into the show. Nobody's watching. Come on, wake up. And if you want to put something in PayPal, that would be great. I'm living on, I'm living on $400 a month, living like a millionaire, you know. That's what I'm surrounded by. And even though it's being ripped and torn apart, it kind of looks like the Ukraine, you know, like instead of Russian cruise missiles taking out buildings, it's contractors, bulldozers, you know, taking out that little, 100-year-old log cabiny house, that I call Holler Home. Oh, and replaced with a Dollar General. Hey, it's progress. How can you fight it? So what's your reality? You want wall-to-wall Dollar Generals? There's one person, there's one thumbs up. Hey, and it only took 1:36. I love it. And if anyone wants to chat, we had a nice little chat the last show. We had our troll, and we had another, part of the cadre, and it was, kind of fun, entertaining, kind of like what Thanksgiving dinner would be like if everyone was doing mushrooms, So, I'd like, there's nothing else like this on YouTube, And the fact that, as Jamie Hilliard said a while back, Al, you're really doing a great job. They're like, you're still on air. They're not taking you off, but they got you down on the farm. Which is fine. I'm here. And when God has figured out something else for me to do, I'll be doing it. Right. Now, there's another reality. What is God? What is religion? What is fucking going on with theology? And, what does it all mean, Daddy? Any little comments on any of that? Any? Anyway, so all I have to do is I just look around and everything is a metaphor for what's going on, and we are, any day now, the Balkans are going to land on the front lawn of the United Nations, but probably not them. Probably more, back in the 40s and 50s when the United Nations was in San Francisco. Some guys did land out there by the big rock, and they were brought into the United Nations. And Val, it wasn't Val Kidner, it was Visty Valve or something. But he had a crew, really cute girls and a couple other guys, all in Brooks Brothers suits, right? And all the girls look like busty Donna Reeds, but Donna Reed was pretty busty. So we have been, in contact for an awful long time. And if we're not them, I think, we're the only alien creature on this planet. Pretty much everything else, all the other biophyllum and creatures all kind of go along with the plan, right? Except us. But we do go by the plan because we are here to try to figure it out. Comic Central in their midnight swim or whatever it was called, stuff they had that was like too risky and too strange to put on, before 10 p.m. They had a show called Something Chicken, Anyone want to tell me what that is? Humpty Dumpty chicken, or let's see. This is a test. Yep, see, it works. The chat does work. I put so spring chicken, no. Morning chicken, no. Midnight chicken, maybe. But anyway, they had a animation, a simple animation of alien comes to Earth, right? And it's kind of like, you know, what the what was like, Garden of Eden. Well, beautiful place. Everybody's running around naked, all vegans. The lions weren't eating the zebras. Everybody was happy, right? And so the alien, picks a little of this, picks a little of that, and bingo makes Adam, right? And then gets a little horny and has alien sex with Adam, and bingo, out from his chest pops Eve, who's better at it, right? And the one character who's the smartest of all of them is the cheeky monkey. He's always bouncing around, setting up stupid things for the caveman Adam to do, and um, and it's hilarious because we are still that caveman Adam, right? And Eve is still horny, right? Can't get enough, to the point where we're having to invent new genders. You got to be kidding me. There's a guy and a girl. Now, within that spectrum, there's a spectrum. So there's guys who like wearing evening gowns. There's guys who don't want a penis but want, it's a spectrum. But there's just guys and girls, right? And as things get weirder, yeah, a man will have babies. Really, really, okay. I'd like to see how that works. And oh, I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe 19 blah, 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 69, 70. I was at this university. I was at Duke. Yeah, I was at Duke in this lecture thing, and we were supposed to. I wasn't even a student. I was just hanging out. But I was, only guy wearing I look more like a professor than the professor there, right? So he thought I was part of that crew just watching him, and he felt esteemed. He wasn't tenured yet, right? So he let me in there. Anyway, he had us write things of what would make the world better. And I wrote this little thesis that men have mammary glands and they just don't have the hormones women do. But if we injected them, they could have breasts, so they could breastfeed the child, which would be, mom would love that. She wouldn't have to do it all the time. I mean, there's a dog here amongst the pack where Colonel Sanders keeps having that bitch pregnant because he thinks, it's a blue tick and a dingo from Australia, and he just keeps knocking out things. And when she goes in the heat, yeah, half of them look like that, but then a couple of them look like whatever dog was passing through, shepherds and Great Danes and whatever. And he doesn't, poor little girl. She's had to pop out a Great Dane. It was like one day she came down. She's only not quite 13 months old, and she's been knocked up twice. I don't know how that happened. But she's given birth to 12 babies, right? And so the ones she had just popped out were still wanting to nurse when the second bunch came out. So, she was like, she would just break away from the crowd, come down and visit me. And I would, I got dog biscuits for her, high in iron, you know, dog biscuits just for nursing mommy puppies. So I would give them to her, and she would like come down, and she was a nasty bitch. When she just came alone with me, she was just, please, I just want some attention. Don't suck on my tits. And so, if men, Homo sapiens, could breastfeed the children, it would, get rid of a lot of that depression, that postpartum depression. Yep. And stop, moms trying to kill their children. which they kind of do. And if men breastfed their children, they wouldn't be so quick to let them go fight in wars. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. Might be just me. Who knows? Anyway, I wrote that, and the guy was so freaking freaked out. He said, "What are you talking about? This is how it works, men, women. This is nothing." I wonder what that guy's thinking about. What the world is now. And and so I said to him, I said, "I think he protests too much." And he was, "What's that mean?" I said, "Didn't you read Shakespeare? I mean, this is a literary course." He goes, "What does that mean?" I said, "You're gay." Ah! Oh boy, he lost his nut. You don't know me too well, do he? So, still one person there. Thanks AI for the thumbs up. 10 minutes, 57 seconds. Good morning, good evening, and hey, give me some money, Put it in that PayPal, the dudeawake42 at Gmail, dudeawake42 at Gmail, dudeawake42 at Gmail. Let's see if anyone's put anything in my Gmail account. 10 most notorious Battlestar Galactica urban legends. Where did Q come from? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Q came from that. Why is modern Star Trek so awful? It's not too awful. 10 important Star Trek details that are almost never mentioned. Yeah, like Earth doesn't look like Earth should look, right? Something happened to it. The Fifth Element, retrospective. Learn more. Neck pain. Most chilling. I don't want to even go there. Star Trek. 11 things you didn't know about the Borg. Okay. Oh, what about the Borg Queen? She's one of those things that was a guy and then was a girl, and then who knew? Things you didn't know about the Guardian of F. Why did they call it that? Ready room.
It's me and my brother. We're sleeping in the back of a truck for the last 20 days. We're homeless, but what do you do? Guys, you can't park here! You cannot park here! Hey! You can't park here! You guys need to leave right now. I'm the chief pharmacist here. Did you hear me? You guys have been here for weeks. You need to get out. Excuse me, sir, but we have nowhere to go. You need to get out. I don't care. You can't park here. We both can't find work, man, and I couldn't pay the rent, and we lost the house, so now we're sleeping in here. Well, did you guys try and get your subsidies yet? Subsidy? What's that? The government subsidies right now, where you get $1,400 every single month from that. $1,400 every single month? Yeah, anyone can get it. I get it. How do you get that?
No one told me.
It's that hotline thing they put out. You phone in, they give you $1,400 every single month. Call it a subsidy, and you get free health insurance too. So you just call in, you say, I want that free health plan and the subsidies. And can we both get the $1,400 subsidies? Yeah, anyone can get it. You said free health insurance? Yeah, free health insurance too. But you got to pack it up, guys. Come on. I actually went ahead and I signed you guys up for the Universal Health Plan program. What is this? That's $1,400, and you're going to be getting one of those every single month.
No one told me.
Comes with the free health plan.
What? Free health plan?
Yeah, free health plan.
What?
I
don't believe this.
Yeah, I thought it was my obligation to tell you. Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be good.
Sign up. I'll text you the link, but you come here, you hit that little register button. You make under less than 50,000. Yeah. Are you on Medicaid? No. So you click that no, a number's gonna populate. Then you call in for that free health insurance and your $1,400 every single month.
No one told me.
I overslept.
This morning I did.
Doesn't like hearing excuses about why his breakfast is late, I'm in doggy damage control mode. That's the third door this week.
Today, Celia Rose Gooding, who plays Ensign Uhura, and Carol Kane, who plays Chief Engineer Pelia, talk to me about this week's episode. We will explore the relationship between James T. Kirk and his brother Sam, and we'll trip out over Star Trek's most hallucinogenic moments. Grab a cookie and join me in the ready room for all this and more.
What does that mean? Grab a cookie. Hosted by Will.
I'm Will Wheaton, and this is the Ready Room, your official behind-the-scenes hub for all things
You
Star
gotta be
Trek
kidding me.
universe.
That guy?
In this week's episode, the Enterprise crew works to repair a deuterium refinery. But if that sounds unrefined to you, well, I am going to call for a red alert. Just like Uhura seeing things that aren't really there, I don't want you to see spoilers that are really there. So if you haven't watched this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, titled Lost in Translation, stream it with a friend, a sibling, a former protege, your current lover, even a past love from an alternate timeline, and then come right back here for all of the behind-the-scenes details. Today, I am...
Enough of that. Come on. No chatting. Come on. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. What's reality? Wars going on everywhere when they shouldn't. Starvation being pushed upon the planet when it shouldn't. It's going to be fun, kids. Grab a hold of your nips and tucks and get ready for big splat. Anyway, it's getting warm. We were supposed to have a ton of rain and that. Pretty nice. No smelly Colonel Sanders, no terrible noises of bulldozers. So, I'm right in this nice little bubble. And I made myself a nice little breakfast. My only trouble is my healthcare is, de-evolving in front of me. I had it really well wired in. I had doctors taking care of me. It was all good. They kind of want me to sign on for that thing. God knows what it is. But anyway, it means, you're freaking nuts, right? You're freaking nuts. Anyway, look at India, world's biggest democracy, but with a fascist little thread running through it called Modi's Party. MIC, MOD, Modi's Party. If you're not like him, you are a terrorist. Modi's. Modi's aren't those things that women stuck up their hoo-hoo when it's that time of month? Isn't that a Modi? And men, keep one of them stuck up their anal port all the time. And that's how we keep everyone's gender in line. And there is no cancel culture. Or should there be? Should we cancel the culture or not have it? Or what should we remember what happened or not? MOUSE. Donald Trump. Adolf Hitler. Donald Trump. Jojo the Youth Podcast. Yeah, we didn't like him for about 5 years, and then we gave him a big party. And then he started with France. France said he was a great guy. What does that mean? Why did we just pull the plug after fighting a war in Afghanistan for 20 years? I mean, just literally hit the switch. Didn't even close. October, November, December, January, 5 months. We were in another war. Way more expensive, too. And a lot more dead people. Mickey Mouse. Donald Duck. Donald Trump. Mouse. And remember, don't believe a word I say. Nothing I say is true. It's all fake news. Thanks to the patron saint, Rudy, out of his mind. What's his name? Mr. Mayor himself, right? What are you talking about? There is no truth. I think there is. Right? Oh, what is it? Let us think. Let us ponder. What is the truth?
Who received the letter are different from the one who wrote the letter. I think he has reference to the fact that they were Gentiles and he is Jewish. They received a faith the same kind as ours. The ours would be the reference to those who have been Jews and have come to know the Lord Jesus. People like Peter and Paul and the other apostles and the many Jews that have led to Christ. But for direct reason, he is addressing people who are not of that race, but they are of the same faith. They have received a faith the same kind as the believing Jews. The righteousness, by the righteousness of our God and Savior, Jesus Christ. To be justified is to be declared righteous. It is the sovereign act of God whereby he declares righteous the believing sinner while we are still in our sinning state. It makes no difference whether one is male or female, regardless of one's race, regardless of one's age, regardless of geography. When a person gives his heart to the Lord Jesus Christ, he receives or she receives in return the righteousness of God, which is credited to our spiritual account.
Now, what does that mean? Righteousness. You know? What does that mean? Who are you? Who the righteous, right? One man's righteous book burning is another man's catastrophe. Right? Love is all there is. When you're talking about God, it's unconditional love, right? And again, what God are we talking about? It doesn't matter because there's only one, right? Whether it's Vishnu, whether it's, you know, and Allah, Allah Akbar, that means God. You know, God is great, not, you know, Muhammad. You know, Muhammad was a prophet, you know, a teacher, right? That's it, like Moses, you know, like Abraham, you know, and not like Donald Trump, not like anybody. I haven't really stumbled across anyone. Oh, there is somebody I stumbled across. Huh. That is a pretty good. What's it? Where it is? Not to look. And there's this a group of books that were kind of put out between the 90s and the early O's about this woman in Russia, and it was the Cedar something or other, right? And it's about this woman who was, you know, a great prophet, was living out there in the woods, could talk to the animals. She stumbled on to a Russian, you know, she was Russian, he was Russian, but she was out there in the woods, kind of in that neck of the woods where the Tunguska forest, where the meteor came down and whacked all those trees. If that meteor had hit Moscow, that would have been the end of Moscow. But you know, maybe 20 or 30 people died. But anyway, that's where she was living, and her parents were like ancient folk, right? They had her when they were in their 80s, very similar to John the Baptist, right? And so this Russian guy, you know, Glasnost happened. He was allowed to start a little business, and he had a boat, and he would go all through all of the rivers and dales out there and bring, you know, toaster ovens and pots and pans and sell it to the folks out there in the woods. and he was going to, and he stumbled on this girl and was like, whoa. And then he turned around and she was gone, right? So we went back to zipping around. And then a couple of days later, he's on his boat and he sees the girl like right by the side of the river where there's no town, no nothing, nobody. He like pulls the boat over, tells the boy, "Hey, wait for me, guys. I'll be right back." And he starts, tripping and running after this girl, and she's just always he just in front of him, and takes him deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest to the point he gets totally lost, has no idea where he is, and she disappears. It's like, uh-oh. So he gets really, really tired, really hungry. He stumbles onto this little, clearing, and there's all these, berries, and they're pretty good. And there's this little spring. He drinks the water. Wow, this is great water. And he says, "Boy, I'm tired." And he sees this kind of little cave with moss in it, and you know, he crawls in, lies down in the moss. Says, "Oh, this is comfy. It's warm. It's nice." And he kind of falls asleep. And in the morning, he hears this female voice outside, and it's the woman. And he comes out, and he goes, "Where am I?" She goes, "Someplace you have no idea about." And that's where it starts. And then, he's like, "Boy, I just had the best night's sleep ever." And then all of a sudden, he turns over and looks at the cave, and out of the cave comes a big bear, and he had just been sleeping on the bear, right? And those berries, the young girl had picked them so he would have something to eat, something to drink, and she told the bear to go in the cave and let him sleep on top of him. The bear comes out, looks at the guy, and goes, walks away, and the girl laughs, and he goes, "What's so funny?" And the guy said, "Well," the girl says to the guy, "Well, you're really lucky." And he goes, "Lucky? Yeah." Bear said you smelled really. All he could do was fart, and the bear was thinking of eating you, but he licked you a few times, and you tasted so bad he just, turned over. He knew he had to stay there until you woke up. So he was going to eat you, and still stay there, but you tasted so bad by just being licked on. So anyway, the guy, and there's 7 books, right? And it's the Cedar something. Cedar. Go, Anastasia is the girl's name. So Anastasia, Russia, Cedars, you might find the book. It's quite a series. I gave one of them away to a young lady who was serving me my lunch the other day because she was, really smart, really that. What are you doing? And she was, had gone to college and now she's just working in a restaurant, right? And what do you want to do? I hang out with my friends. Okay. I said, well, I was going to give her a book called, I read her poem and I was going to give her a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And I said, no, you need to read this book because if I gave you this book, you would read a few sentences and fall asleep and then lose the book and I wouldn't have it. This, you might stay interested. And if you read the whole thing, then you will read whatever other books I give you. And she goes, So we'll see what happens. And that's a good book to get that out in the woods. And I have the other, 6 books of the series somewhere. I'm going through all my books. I've been giving them all away, selling them. And I don't have really rare books, but I have really good books like those. Right? Let's see what books I have that I uncovered from that thing. Yes, I told you Patrick O'Brien's series. A friend of mine sent me this. One of my adepts from back in the day. He grew up to be a real electrician. It's Living in Christ. That's not so bad. I mean, it's propaganda, but see the thing about propaganda. What good old Goebbels, the propagandist of the National Social Party, said that the only good propaganda is propaganda that has 60% truth and then 40% whatever you want to stick on there, right? And the guys of the Tavistock Institute, right, who are the inventors of propaganda / advertising, and the guy who kind of Bernays, I think, was Freud's nephew. And they had a whole, because they were like kind of started by entities in England that were like the CFR. The CFR is Council for Foreign Relations, and the English had, so the English had started all of that because they had this gigantic empire, and we're just their tool boy, right? Their chaw boy, their pool boy, the three legs of the fascist imperialism of humanity that started back there with the Babylon bankers, and it was before them too, but that's really where it was institutionalized and what we are living. Go read all the books by Joseph P. Farrell. He's really good. He has one called SS Brotherhood of the Sun, right? And so he shows how, end of World War II, the German people once again hooked and hoodwinked and bombed into the Stone Age. Nazis, Hail Hydra, go off to the moon, to Mars, and to the facility that their Aryan brothers had put in the Antarctic, right? South Pole. And that's why there are a lot of people down there, nobody talking about it. That's why there's a gigantic facility in Tasmania, Australia. This is a thing called the Gordon Ridge. And they built a dam there, and it's this whole big kind of bathtub, about 300 square miles. That everyone talks about the redwoods being, the oldest, biggest trees in the world. No, they're toothpicks compared to what's in that Gordon Ridge, the Hume pine. Hume pine, 600 feet high, been around 10, 15,000, 60,000 years, right? One tree, 60,000 years old. It's a rainforest. It rains here all the time, 24/7, right? 365. And they built a dam, and they flooded that valley. And when I was brought there to be a punch list guy for one of the contractors of the thing, we flew in by helicopter, blah, 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 landed, right? And it was like a little pad on the water there, and there was a little box on top of that pad. Walked in it, elevator down like a zillion miles, right? And I was working for this electrical engineering firm, and I was there with a checklist. And my boss hired me because I really knew what I was talking about, knew what they were talking about, and I would totally freak them out. I went there wearing a dress and had, instead of a briefcase, had a pocketbook. I still have that pocketbook, and that's why he hired me, because he worked on all these big projects that these entities wouldn't. They were worse than Donald Trump. They wouldn't pay that last check, right? Completion check, which on these things was like $10-20 million, right? And they said, "Oh, you didn't finish." The punch list would be miles long, and so I would go there and I would start doing it, very professionally, and always asking the most, inappropriate, question, like, there are all these guys and they all look the same. And I said, "So, are you all gay and cloned?" They, when I say things like that, they get very upset. And they kept saying, "This will survive a nuclear holocaust." We're digging under a gigantic lake, underneath a mountain, and they go, "Oh, and this electricity is enough for 20 million people for the economic resources of Tasmania." Well, Tasmania only had 19,000 people living there. It's a little island, and it was where the most powerful Aborigines lived, right? And the English, when they went down there, and the English who showed up in Australia were just batshit crazy, right? And rich, Take Rupert Murdoch and mix him into that with Jack the Ripper, and those are the guys you had. Sending criminals from England to Australia is like it was as expensive as if we were to send pickpockets to Mars, right? But so the people they were sending, yeah, they were definitely, but they were sociopath sickos, right? Killing people. Jack the Ripper. Who was Jack the Ripper? Queen Victoria's cousin, who was the surgeon of the court, right? So as long as he's whacking, whores down in the red light, there's no problem. But when he started going after, merchants' wives, eh, and the thing was, they didn't want him to be caught because if it was, it would come out that the main surgeon of the Queen of England, that empire that the sun never sets on. Um, so they sent him to Australia to be able to go Sweeney Todd all he wanted to. So that was Australia, and still is, right? And Tasmania was this little island where all the most amazing Aborigines were. You go watch the movie The Last Wave, tells it like it is. And with Dr. Kildare, right? And whatever that guy's name was. And Tasmania is this little island that's closer to the South Pole than it is to the southern part of Australia. But it's really beautiful, really nice, really just a mixture of Hawaii and Vermont, right? And it's always never too. It's a Goldilocks land. It's like 70 during the day and 50 during. Hey there, fish. And so I went there with my wife the first time, and because one of our best friends, her aunt lived there and was an artist. So she go, just go down there and stay with her for a while. And so we did. And my wife, she and I, we had a great 10 years. And that's because right off the bat, the first day I met her on the subway, I said, okay. And she was like, hmm. And she knew, she had a guy who was going to watch out for her and think of her before himself, right? That was me. But she was a triple cancer, and I don't know if any of you guys know triple cancers, but they, people say to me when I read them, "Oh, no, I'm just very observant. I see things that most people don't see, and that's not being psychic. Well, we all are psychic, but because of what happened in Babylon, we kind of cut that up. We used to not. Why we have so many languages is back in the day we were all psychic. We didn't have languages. We weren't verbal. We just ding, communicate that way with each other. My first wife, Donna Ann, she was that to the spades, right? And every time she would do something, she would be scared that I would throw her under the bus. And I said, "No, honey, no, we were together for about a month and a half, maybe a little longer. It was winter, almost spring, Marchish, right? And I'm living in Brooklyn, Williamsburg, in a gigantic factory building, 17,000 square foot walk for $300, free utilities, heat, everything. She was living in a storage container, and she had to shit in a bucket. Right? And I said, "No, you don't. You live here. Look how big it is. Go make yourself a house out of all those boxes over there." Well, if we got that, she was like sleeping in my bed, within hours. And we were, and I was doing, I was having sprouts. I was Mr. Herbalist. I was healing people. I was doing art. I was, going to big fancy events, the board of the Whitney and the Museum of Modern Art, because I built all these people's homes and art galleries and blah, blah, blah. And I was part of an art organization called Collaborative Artists Works, right? I had a TV show in Manhattan Cable called Potato Wolf, where 7 million people watched it every Thursday night. And like there's 3 people watching this, right? I mean, our show was a little more, it was like way better than Saturday Night Live about 4 years before Saturday. And, they were watching us, the guy who was still a producer of Saturday Night probably was watching it. We got to do a show like this. So after a certain point, I said, honey, it's time we, the 3 Mile Island thing happened. And that was our first foray out of, I said, "Do you have a you know, one of those things, passports?" "Oh, yeah." I said, "Good, let's go." I get this phone call from a friend of mine who says, Al, get out of town. I said, Bob, where are you? I can't tell you. Undisclosed location. Bob, why? What? I haven't heard from you since we worked at Los Alamos together, 4 years ago. I can't talk about anything. Just get out leave the country. Go to Europe. And he knew about Freddie Laker. He knew I used to take it all the time. Like I would get on a bus because that's what they call it, Freddie Laker's bus. And when he started, it was $48 to go from Kennedy to Heathrow. So, we go down to Pan Am Building. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We go into their little storefront that's down on the main street down there on the sidewalk, not in the Pan Am Building, not in Penn Station, but right there. And that's where the bus would come at 4:30. It would show up. It would leave at 5. Right. So I said 2 to Heathrow. Oh, no problem. Because Freddie Laker had, I think it was a 747. He had an Airbus and a 747, 2 aircraft. He had no gates. So at 5 o'clock, the bus would leave. You would get on the bus. They'd give you a little bottle of Patty's Irish whiskey and a plastic cup of ice. Right, you get on, sit on the bus, have your little drink, and it wouldn't go into the airport. It would drive onto the tarmac. You would get off the bus, go up the exterior stairs up into the thing. They give you 2 more bottles of Patty's, and there was no first, second, third class. Whenever you bought the ticket, so we got somewhere in the middle, right, of the airplane, and we strap in and takes off around 6 o'clock, and they come around right away. Bing! They give you. Everyone gets a nice little tray of nashi stuff, and another bottle of whatever you want. Glass of wine, a little bottle of wine, a little bottle of beer, a little bottle of Patty's. Patty's was their number one alcohol. And so then, once all that was stored, you could stroll up to, in the 747, they have another deck that, if you sat people there, you could probably seat 100 people, but they didn't. It was like a nightclub environment up there, right? And most of the people getting on the airplane just fell asleep, right? And watched a movie. So there'd be, 20 to 70 people up there having cocktails, and you had to buy that stuff. And you could sit down at a table that had a tablecloth and silverware and all that and have a very, very, very nice meal, like fish or beef or lamb or whatever, right? Very nice meal, like for $20, and they get a real bottle of wine. So we did that, right? And so we land in Heathrow, and so you leave at 6, from Kennedy, and you land in Heathrow around 7 a.m., right? And again, we land there. They don't have a gate, and you come off, and you have a line. It kind of goes, they put you in a bus. That was it. They put you in a bus, and the one bus held, like going there, they had 3 or 4 buses coming, from Heathrow to London, 3 or 4 buses, and they put you in a bus. Before the bus took off, the guy from checking your passport would get on the bus and just click, 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 click. He'd have a list of pictures of people who shouldn't be in the country, and that you're not him. Anyway, that took all of about 10 minutes, and again, they gave you a nice thermos. Cup of coffee, right? Good. European coffee, not American. And so, anyway, and a little bun, like almost Indian bun of a savory meat and an egg in a bun. Very yummy. So it came in a little box, and coffee in your box, and the guy's clicking you in. Bus takes off, takes you downtown to Paddington Station, let you off. So we get off the bus. I said, and when you buy your ticket at whatchamacallit, at Freddie Laker, um, you can also buy Europass, which this is before the EU. They had a common market, and you could go anywhere in a common market um, with this little pass, right? And you buy it in New York, it was $40, and it lasted a year, right? And if you had that and your passport, pretty much you could stay in Europe, in the Euro, in the common market zone for a year, pretty much, because every time you used it, it went on somebody's database somewhere, and so they could kind of keep an eye on you. And so that, and also they had bed and breakfasts. You could sign up for a bed and breakfast, and so we signed up for a bed and breakfast at Paddington Station, because I had stayed at one of those. And I said, yeah, a nice one. So some ladies, not right on the main drag, but kind of over there in the neighborhood. It was a comfy place. Comfy place. It was a pound a night. And if you bought it at from Freddie Laker, it was £6 for 12 days, right? Not quite a fortnight, right? And couldn't beat it, right? So that I said, we'll do that, and we'll see, what's up. 12 days should be more than whatever, right? And we can even go further, or we'll be set, right? We'll figure it out. So we get on the bus, we drive to Paddington Station. They give you a nice map, right? And they have like stewards on the bus, and it would say double decker one. So we went up top with our breakfast and our cup of coffee, so we could get a nice view of everything. And I said, okay, so here's the map. Thanks for the map. So here's Paddington Station. Where is this place we got to go? And she tapped a little magic marker, circle it, and draw a line on what streets, and underline the names of the streets and all of that, right? So, we were all set. So I said, honey, let's go into the station and pick up some, find a newsstand and see what's going on. She goes, what do you mean, what's going on? We know what's going on. We live in America. I said, honey, let's go to the newsstand. And I knew this newsstand in Paddington Station had every newspaper from everywhere, from Moscow to DC, from you name it, everywhere. So we got a couple of rags, and we got a Times, London Times, say Financial Times, the Moscow paper, the French paper, and you could got them all in English, right? And Swedish paper, and the Turkish paper, and some journals. So we walk into that newsstand, and right on front where you see it, all the extra, America about to die, nuclear accident, blah, blah, blah. When we left America, no one in America knew about 3 Mile Island. It was like catastrophically going on. And they didn't tell anybody because it was so bad. They didn't want to tell anybody. They didn't know what to do. And my friend who called me up was like in a bunker somewhere, because he's a nuclear physicist, specializing in nuclear reactors, what to do, right? And that's why he couldn't really talk. It was amazing that he got a hold of me. It was amazing that he called me and not his mother, right? So, wow. Hey guys, you're going to be firing all of the people in Hollywood. I've got so many stories. Me and AI has listened to most of them. I just need a little something, because I want to tell these stories more than YouTube, more than the 4 people, more than 3 thumbs up. Though, thank you for those 3 thumbs up. Thank you. And how about good morning, good evening, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamlands. And put something in the old PayPal. Here it is, 49 minutes and 44 seconds. How much time we got left on the old battery? We got another at least 40 minutes. I'll tell you some more stories. So we, she's just blown away to the fact that our government lies to us. I mean, she had no idea. I mean, the FBI truly tried to boil her in oil, and if she hadn't bumped into me, she would have been, a tidbit. That's a whole nother story. Basically, she was in San Francisco. She was, oh, what is her name? The lady who's big famous for taking pictures and putting on the front cover of Rolling Stone, Annie Leibovitz. She was Annie Leibovitz's first descendant. Donna Ann left Long Island. Her mom was a dental assistant. And because there was no daycare, um, mom used to take little Donna to work with her. And Donna would, be charming and cute and roam around. And the doctor really loved Donna, didn't have any kids. And so by the time Donna Ann was 9 years old, she was cleaning people's teeth. And because Donna was she still is. She's like the Albert Einstein of the darkroom. Of whatever she does, she is unbelievably meticulous, unbelievably. So we made amazing dynamic duo. She was completely, anal retentive about that little thing. Me, I had the big picture, the strategy, know everybody. So we did things that people were like in awe about because as a team we were unstoppable. And our studio was called DNA, Donna and Al. And so she worked for that guy, and this guy loved her so much he didn't give her mom the check. No, he got her a social security number, like when he could, and from 9 until whenever that time was, like 11 or 12, he put the money in a savings account for her, a high interest savings account, right? A certificate of deposit, right? And every time it rolled over, he just find something more better interest, right? And so once she got a social security, he set it all up. So everything was in her name, right? And by the time she graduated high school, she was doing dental surgery because the guy was getting this and she was doing it, right? And what she really fell in love with was photography. Because, by the time she was, 8th grade, she had probably more money in the bank than her family did, right? Because she didn't spend it on anything, but she really got into photography. And in 8th grade, I think she got in some kind of girls club or Girl Scouts or something. They had a photo class. She got into it. They had a dark room. Ooh. And she bought herself a real nice camera and blah blah blah. And she had a certain side of her that was she could just go off and do stuff. And the other side was, she worried about everything, right? So we meet on the subway, and she's taking pictures. As we were on the F train going into Williamsburg, into Marcy Avenue, that train went to Coney Island, went into the jungle land, and an above ground train too. That's how old it was. And so, it came out of the ground and went over the Williamsburg Bridge, and then went on its way. And the first stop was Marcy Avenue, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Hasidim Land, Lubavitcher Land, and above it, Red Hook. So when we were down underground, when the things, the subways, you think you're going through a tunnel, but you're not. It's like they just that was where the subways used to be New York City streets, but they just put steel up, poured concrete, and that became the new street. That was like the end of 19th century way of rebuilding the city cheap. And so these are electric subways, right? So every time they would cross over in that third rail, the little boot the lights would go out and then it'd make contact, big lightning bolt, and the train would keep going. But what you would see is that, we're not in a tunnel. It's like this big open space. But no one noticed because otherwise, when the lights were on, super bright fluorescent lights, windows like mirrors, so you didn't see outside, right? You just saw inside there. So, and people wouldn't look at each other; they'd look in the windows, and so I saw Donna over there looking at me in the window, and I, oh, look at that girl looking at me. Well, because everybody there was either Hispanic, black, or Hasidim. I was the only white guy, or what the Hasidim used to call Anglo, English, right? So we, the Hasidim were like the Amish of the Jews. And I can say this, with all humility and love, because I live with those people, and my landlord was a rabbi. It'll come to me, but anyway, I was really into the Kabbalah. I mean, really, he would come up, he would look at the books I'm reading. You're reading Hebrew. I said, yeah, I'm reading Hebrew. And German, German. Yep. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Thank you. No problem, Kathleen. And Kathleen, you want to talk mano y mano? The Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Anybody want to get a hold of me on the old email? Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Any of you guys here in Hollywood, you want to talk about, doing a TV show, a movie, whatever? Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. I'm looking for a new gig because we're about to eat this place live. God is keeping it safe for me. Look, look how beautiful that is, right? And only the rich people are coming in and they're whining because they can't be with themselves, right? So they drink, they get into unbelievable car crashes. This is a Sawtooth Mountain Range. The roads don't go straight. It's not like Florida or California. They're like doing this up and down, up and down, and around and around. And this gigantic lake over there, right? There's this one place where you come down this big mountain, you make a pretty big turn this way, and then another turn this way, and just at the other end of that turn, there's a 90-degree turn that you have to, and it's a sign says 10 miles. So no, it's 45 miles, and when it's up on top of the hill, you're supposed to do about 35 coming down the steep hill. You're supposed to be doing about 30 when you're coming around this S turn, and you're supposed to be doing about 5 when you make. But everyone's, oh, isn't it so pretty? Look at all this. They don't even see the speed times are going faster and faster. And then when they don't know that there's that 90-degree turn until they're in the air heading for the lake. Now, there have been, in the last 2 years, there have been 6 cars. There have been almost 12 accidents there, but 6 that went right through over the trees and into the lake, and people didn't even know that they were there. They didn't find them until the TVA they lowered the lake in the fall and the winter to like clean it out. And they're look, oh look, there are cars there. Wonder where those people went. And that's the rich morons coming from California. I call them the cockroaches. What is a cockroach now? Not much. Right? To eat, consume, destroy, defecate, reproduce, useless. Right? Anyway, so met Don on the subway, and I'm watching her, and she's got this big pea coat, like goes down to her ankles. Her dad's, he was in the merchant marine, in the Marines, before he got married. And anyway, so I basically, kind of saunter over because I see her drop something, and I see her taking pictures. Against the law to take pictures in the subway. I mean, and they can arrest you and fine you and do all kinds of stuff. But it's very easy. You go down to the MTA's office and you get a little permit to take pictures. You can. It's no big deal. You just have to sign up. Anyway, so I basically, so I see her taking pictures. She opens her coat. We're now on the bridge. She's taking, and that view is pretty amazing. You look down towards the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Statue of Liberty, and the end of Manhattan. So anyway, we're going over that, and I see her taking pictures, and she drops her lens cap. Right, so she's going towards the other end of the car, and I kind of stroll over there, and there's really not that many people. A few. It's not like rush hour, And so I kind of and the crew who's going to get off are in the two cars in front of us and one behind us, and they're all Hasid, and they're like the cattle car. They stay together. The car we were in, not so much. A few black and Hispanic folk, and that's about it. So anyway, and they were all asleep, and so we, I pick up her lens, and I saunter over to her, and I say, "Hey, are you a photographer?" No, no. What did I say? I said, "So you got a Leica?" That's what I said. I didn't say, "Are you?" I said, "So you got a Leica?" And she was like that, and I handed her lens cap, and it said Canon on it, but it was for a 50 screw. And the Japs got all these Nazi Leicas, and after the war, they Canon copied them, and did a nice job. The bodies weren't as good as the Nazi Leica, but the lenses were excellent. And a Leitz lens then cost $1,000, but you go to Willoughby's and get a really nice Canon 50 screw for $50, right? So I hand her this lens cap that says Canon on it, and I say, "So you got to like that, right?" So it's like the secret handshake. And she goes, "Are you an artist?" I said, "Oh, am I ever?" And she goes, "Where do you live?" And we're going over the bridge, and the big building I lived in, the 17,000 square foot thing, it's which is like 400 feet long, 150 feet wide, and then a whole nother building with a 3,000 square foot well, which is where I lived, with a pyramid on top, because the guy who had it was Dutch. He was a mason, and that was the tallest building in America back in the 1600s, 6 stories high. And his special house was the pyramid on top, and he had a big telescope so he could watch. So anyway, that's where I lived. And on top of the roof, there's a disco called um, Xenons, right? It was on the Edison Theater, right back in the good old days. And they turned it after '54 was so successful. They turned this thing into a disco too. And it was right around the time that Close Encounters was, and so they wanted a flying saucer, on top. And somebody suggested I should make it because I was a lighting designer, and I made a paper mache version of what I wanted to build for them, because that's what I could afford to make out of the money, that $5,000 they gave me to make a model, and I built it on the roof. Right, I kept it there, and I had a switch in my thing. I just kind of hit it, and it would light up, and it looked like a flying saucer was landing on that building. So everyone in Manhattan, from the Battery up to 59th Street Bridge on the east side, everyone could see the flying saucer when I lit, at night when I turned it on. And so we're going over the thing, and I go, and she goes, "Where do you live?" I said, "Right there." And she goes, "Is that your flying saucer?" I said, "Yep, I made that." And she goes, "Ah." And so she goes, I come sometimes, come home, and all those windows. How do you do that? Yeah, I said, "Christmas lights." I had chasers. And so the windows will go all around the building, 300 and something feet this way and 100 and something feet that way, all the way around. I mean, you could see it from, space. And so, because it was real dark, there was nothing going on in that whole neighborhood, just Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The Jewish lightning had hit most of the buildings. Anyway, so, we're talking. She's taking pictures. I'm just, looking out the window, and she just kind of walks away. I was like, "Hmm." And I see her go into the next car, and she's got her little camera underneath her jacket, and so I guess I'll never see that girl again. Not too interested in me. And so she first stop, Marcy Avenue. I get off, and basically I'm standing right in front of the door. There's not many people, on my cart, but the other one is full of Hasids. The one over there she walked into full of Hasids. And the door opens. I kind of step out of their way, and like cattle, they just go to the steps. And it's a beautiful day. I'm high up. I'm looking down Roeblings. I'm looking down Broadway because this is the end, and the train would come up over to where Broadway was, and so where you get off on Marcy, you had this great view of that whole neck of the woods of Brooklyn, right from that subway platform at that end. So I'm just, that, and I feel this on my side, and I turn around, and there's Donna. She's standing right there, looking up at me. She's about a foot shorter than me. She's looking up at me. I said, "Oh, there you are." And she goes, "Well, I just this train I get off down there and I just got off." I said, "You hungry?" "Oh yeah." I said, "You like pizza?" Uh I said, "Come on. I'm gonna get you the best Patsy's Pizza right on Broadway." Go down there. "Hey Patsy, hey, Al, give me 4 doubles." So that's 2 slices with everything you could imagine on them, like a sandwich, right? And then bent in half, and then he put aluminum on them, and then paper, then aluminum, and then a paper plate. So you just hold it and just shove it in your mouth, bits by bits. If you had teeth like I don't have now, you could be very enjoyable. And he says, "You want some wine?" Which he wouldn't sell. He would, for the good clientele and who he knew, who he liked, he had a bottle of wine. And we went down Roebling's, and there was a little park, just like a little nook, right before whatever road that was. No, it was Broadway and then Roebling's and then whatever that road was. And so we eat that and we're looking and we're not saying much. And she's just looking me up and down. And I go, "Well. So she goes, "How long you lived here?" And I said, "Oh, about 2 years." And she, I started telling her the story of Al. She's just freaking amazed. And she doesn't tell me anything about her at all. I say, "So where'd you grow up?" And she'd ask me another question. Right? And I just tell her more stuff. Anyway, uh, we go down Broadway, turn onto Roebling's, we're on Roebling's, and so that was the Italian experience because Patsy's was right on the edge where the Franklin Bank is, and Red Hook is over there. That's where the mob is, right? So the Italian on this side of Broadway is Italian, this side is Hispanic and Hasidic. And so anyway, so we're walking down this, and we stop at a Hasidim bakery. And that's Mrs. Gottlieb. I said, "Mrs. Gottlieb." She comes around. She got the apron. She gives me a kiss on each side. I got like sugar on each side from her hands, where she was holding my head. "Who is this darling little girl?" I said, "What's your name?" "Donna Ann," was reply. "Oh, so pretty. Here, have a black and white cookie." She never had a black and white cookie. "This is amazing." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Mrs. Gottlieb, give me a box," which was my box of my favorites, about 5. They're German. They're bakers. So we're walking, and we've nibbled on that, and so we get to at South 12th Street, right, where they're building Roberto Clemente, and so we go. See, look down the street. There's a Fork there, and on the other side of Fork, there's this, 5 or 6 buildings that are about 3 stories high, and then there's this gigantic building that takes up the whole. That's the building that has the farm. These are for you. So, oh, my hand was on the mic. Sorry. How about now? Can you hear me now? Okay. So, I go up. Kirby comes. "Hey, how you doing?" "Okay." And he's in the line of Benny. Benny was this super I knew in Soho, and Benny, I took care of Benny's work. I did all of Benny's work because Benny in the basement had nightclubs, brothels, and gambling and drugs. He had opium den. And I used to fix things in these buildings. And he said, "Listen, kid, I got something to show you." And he took me up to this top floors on Worcester Street, this loft that was unbelievable. 7,000 square feet, gigantic skylights, light like you couldn't believe. And he said, "No one's here because they don't have AC electricity. They have DC." And he showed this wooden box with these big wires the size of elephants' legs covered in tar. Right? He says, "That's DC, and that's the same DC that's running the subways." No. Okay, so you can have this loft. All you need to do is my job. Run the elevator? Oh, no. That's no, all you have to do is sweep out all the hallways, change light bulbs, and fix a few things I'll show you that need fixing. Check up on them. I said, "Okay, sounds great to me." And he would always have a little something, something for me. I could always go down into the underworld and have an interesting time as the social scientist I was. So Kirby had the same kind of thing. Virtually all of these supers of these buildings had, a side hustle that usually was like off the hook. And again, movie guys, another great movie to be made. Get a hold of me, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Want to put something on the old PayPal? I could use it. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Kathleen, how about you? You got 10, 15, 20? Any of the above? Okay. And Kathleen, you're in America, give me your phone number. I'll give you a call. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Or if you just want to have a email relationship, Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. All lowercase, all one thing. Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Right? Anyway. And you can always look at my written stuff at Griot Publishing. At what's the name of that? I forgot. It's a website that I signed into. It's still there. Somebody's, I read your stuff on Griot Publishing, and it's something. Who knows? But anyway, if you get a hold of me, I will email you. In the last, since the COVID thing, I've written 18 novels. Again, guys, you guys in Hollywood and whatever planet you're on, you want some really interesting stuff to make movies about instead of having to keep making movies about, Spider-Man. I mean, that's getting a little old, don't you think? Don't you need some new narratives? I'm your guy. I am a griot. I belong to the union, the International Brotherhood and Sisterhood of Storytellers. And don't believe a word I say. So, I stroll, push the button. No, actually, I kind of went up there and Kirby was just leaning on the wall. And so, we're going up and he smoking a doobie and he always had some rolled up. He gave me a couple. I put them in my pocket. I took a couple of chortles off of his doobie and then walked, follow the yellow brick road, follow. Because to go from that elevator to my place you had to go down one hallway, go through one door, go up a staircase, go down another hallway, go through another locked door, go up another. It's took me like 15 minutes to get to my front door because there was 3 other buildings. It looked like one gigantic building, but it was 3 other buildings. Anyway, so it might rain. It's getting dark. It was sunny. Now it's getting gray. So, I went into and my front door wasn't a door. It was what is known as a fire door. It kind of slides, right? That's what's a different building. So, I go in and my beautiful, I have like 40 windows all the way around. And I'm higher than any other building around except for Roberto Clemente that they're building. That's going to be 22 stories high. That's for all the Hispanic, allegedly, and why it's called Roberto Clemente, so that a Jewish lightning hit all the buildings in Williamsburg, and that's where the Hispanics, the guys from Puerto Rico, who were the workers in the Hasidim factories before China, It was the Hasidim Jews in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, making all the crap. Anyway, so I had this beautiful space, big, beautiful floor. It was oak. You could dance. I was a dancer. Used to have my sweetie Beth B come over, and her girls would come over, and we would dance, right? And I don't know if you ever seen dancers, and they have leg warmers. I started that because the factory I was that was like in the 1940s after World War II. They had polyester, and they were making everything out of polyester. And this factory just made sleeves for factories, not not the whole sweater, but sleeves. That's it. They just would cut them up and glue them to the bodice of the sweater. And anyway, so I had, and that's why that nobody used that factory for like 40 years because it had 17,000 square feet of sweater sleeves. Some cut, some like miles long, that, and you cut it with an electric knife, a nichrome wire, which is the hot wire would cut through it and seal it so it wouldn't unweave itself. Anyway, so Beth would come over and dance in my thing. I had a great stereo. I had a stereo that I got out of Avery Fisher Hall, the guys who made great speakers. I had these great speakers and a great turntable, great amplifier. And we would just dance the night away, me and the girls and a few of their buddies. And we would do serious dance, choreographed dancing stuff because that's what Beth was all about. She was a choreographer. I met her at Juilliard when we both went to Juilliard. And we had the longest running affair to remember. We were best buds with benefits, right? And it was a great relationship because she would always find guys who she was looking for her main squeeze for the rest of her life. And I was always, her best friend. Okay. Her best friend um, with benefits. And so we would have best, we never had arguments. We never, look at this guy. You guys, look at this. Come here. You're not supposed to be up here. You're not supposed to be up here. You're not supposed to be up here. No, not on the furniture. Stay down there. This is one of Colonel Sanders' slave dogs. Go home. Go. He's got about 12 of them, and they're total chaos around him. But they come one at a time to visit me, and they obey me because I'm the only one who's concerned parent, a responsible adult. Colonel Sanders and his father, Grandpa Cockroach, and everybody else are just children. I mean, it's all about them. Like me. I'm a moron, yes. Okay, 29%. So we're down to about 10 minutes. So let's see if we can wrap all this up. So I'm up there in my beautiful loft, and all the rich people, I was in Soho, had a beautiful loft there. And then, there was an article in the New Yorker about Soho life, and I sliced it up into 7 1,000 square foot lofts. And now I didn't own the building. I didn't even have a lease. What I did have was the key to the door. And so I would make these, I made 7 clean, white, brand new, whatchamacallit, not fiberglass, sheetrocked walls, fire test, an inch thick, and a nice sturdy metal front door, hallway. And I had a septic line, a water line, a gas line that went down to the basement to a legal Con Ed meter, and a electric panel that went down to a Con Ed meter that was running legally. And I had the key to that door, and it's a Fox lock, meaning the most unpickable lock, and it had a bar across. I mean, you'd have to crash the wall down to get through that door, right? So safety beyond safety. And each one had a great view, great light, skylights, septic line, water line, gas line. And you walk through the door, there was a switch, light overhead. There was an outlet here, and about 10 feet over there, another outlet, 2 outlets, right? But a big panel, 200 amp panel. You could put anything in it. And for 20 grand, I would give you the key, right? And I would give you the electric bill and the gas bill, right? And I would give you a thing stating that I was moving out and you were the new tenant. Not a, not a, what do you call it? When you rent an apartment, you get a legal document about that. But I had a real electric bill, a real gas bill, and a legal thing saying that this guy is, going to sublet, right? Going to move in, right? And so lease. Thank you, Kathleen. And it would work, right? And so I would sell each of those spaces for somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 cash. Right? If you could do that, here's the key. Here's the things. I'm signing it over to you now. And I did that about 3 times in Soho. I did it twice in Tribeca. And each time I would do it, I would get a nice chunk of change and I would go travel the world. That's how I paid for my travels. And Freddie Laker couldn't beat it. And so that's how, that's what Beth was, and Beth and I traveled around a lot and we were best buddies until I left New York. And she started a thing with the man she found. I don't know if they're still together or whatever, wherever Beth is. But it was called The Kitchen. So if you were to go Google Soho, or, performance space, The Kitchen, she would come up, Beth B. Right? And we also did a thing called Franklin Furnace, The Knitting Factory, another place called PS1 up there in Queens, and a lot of other people involved in all of that too. So anyway, so that's kind of, so I would be involved in something, do a lot of stuff, make money, have a good time, blah, blah, blah. And then I would say, okay, I would have a place like the Waynesburg lot I had. I kind of rented it to this clown from the Midwest where mommy and daddy paid all his bills. And Don and I went to Australia and I pretty much put everything we had under the staircase and built a big wall around it. And then, okay, buddy, here's the do. Everything, utilities are free, heating's free. Kirby, just give Kirby, $100 every month, and he will give you an ounce of pot. But that $100, normally if he likes you, he gives you that free. If he's just selling it like off the deck of the, loading platform, it's $10. You give him 100, he'll take care of any needs you have physically of the place, right? He'll watch your back and he'll give you an ounce of pot. And so, but you will find that every so often, when you have to walk up the steps, which was like a time machine, it really was bizarre. And you have to go through all those doors. That first door, you will find they will plaster things saying, "Turn yourself in. We know you're stealing utilities." Blah blah blah. No, they just utility company gave some company who gave some money to some tweakers to go put those. They don't know you. No one knows you even exist. So don't make any waves. Don't say anything. Just have a good time. We'll be back whenever. And he gave me $45,000. So I made some investments, and we went to Australia with maybe a third of that. And so, and we visited our friend. But I mean, that was how I had my life going until 2003. And then really 1988, that's when I went to Cornell. But I was still kind of doing that. I was an itinerant scholar. I kind of was sent hither, and yon, looking at stuff for people and giving them my opinion and writing things about that they would change around and then publish in their name. They paid me awful good and exposed me to things that I really wanted. That's, if I have any kind of, like guys are alcoholics, guys are drug addicts, sex addicts, food addicts, all of those. Not so much for me, but I am very drawn to understanding what's going on from mysteries. I've been part of many mystery schools. So anyway, back to Williamsburg and Donna, and she. I'm up in my thing, and I had this great window that I had built a platform on. It's my writing platform, and I got this beautiful desk right in the window, and I have my Corona typewriter, and I would just sit there and just whatever came in my head, I type it away, right? And so, and I had this nice desk that had these like wasn't quite one of those 19th century roll-ups, but close to it. It's a very strange desk. Everything I ever had mostly came off the street. So anyway, and then my friend Olga Kluver, Billy Kluver's cousin, would come and take the stuff and sell it in her auction house on 22nd Street and 6th Avenue or 8th Avenue. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and cogitating and smoking one of those bones that Kirby had given me, and boom, 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 boom on the fire door. And I walk over there and I roll the door open, and Kirby puts his foot in it so it doesn't roll shut. So, and there's little Donna. And there's gigantic. Kirby's like 6'4". He's like a gorilla, and little Donna's like 5 feet shorter than that. So, anyway, yeah, it's cute things looking for you. And I said, really? And he puts his hand out to shake, and he gives me, a nice bunch of good stuff. And I stick it in my pocket, and I said, come on in. She walks in, she looks around. She doesn't have a word. And she looks over and she sees this kitchen I've made. So this had, other floors were other factories, and one was a, they made garments. So they had sewing machines from like the 19th century, right? And so the tables that the sewing machines were in were made out of oak, like butcher block oak. And one day I, was looking to where to run a drain. So I just kind of went out on the fire escape and went into that place, and it had all of this stuff from a garment factory from the 19th century and hadn't been used since. So I go over to where this floor does have an elevator. You don't have to walk through the whole thing. Hit the button. Kirby comes up. And I said, Kirby, how come you didn't tell me this is a wonderland of stuff here? He goes, oh, this is junk. I said, no, buddy, this is stuff I can use. This is whatever you want. So first, there's all kinds of stuff I could make art out of. So we filled the elevator, and the elevator was 20 foot by 20 foot by 20 foot high. You could stick a lot, and there was no walls. When you went up and down, the walls would move. I mean, if you were leaning, you would get squished, right? It was a deadly. Elevators are very deadly, and people take them for granted. So, Mike, okay, sorry. How much time do I have? Are we in the red zone yet? Not quite. So anyway, she's looking at everything, and she looks over, and I have an electric oven, right, a gas hot water heater, a gigantic like commercial stainless steel thing, dishwasher kind of thing, table kind of thing, shopping kind of thing, and I have a Garland stove too, gas Garland stove, electric stove. It's always good to have two different ways of doing something, just in case one stops. And because the meters for this floor were in a whole nother building that the utility company didn't even know existed. And so no one been, paying the bill since like, 1912. Anyway, every time I found a space here, I would drag it up there and stick it on the ceiling. And I had like a whole wall, like the Grateful Dead had the wall of sound. I had the wall of space heaters. Anyway, so it's kind of cold outside, and inside the space, it's like the Caribbean, right? And a lot of there's so many windows I never fixed them, and they were like really old and gigantic, and there were some windows missing, and yeah, I might have some plastic over it, but it's like the Caribbean. And she's just looking around, And you have a kitchen. I go, yep. Look at that sink. Oh, and a refrigerator. I said, yep. And you have a bathroom. You have 2 toilets. Yep. And I had a gigantic um, lion foots bathtub, like from the 19th century. That was like 4 foot deep. It was like a swimming pool, right? And it had jets all around it. It was like before jacuzzi, because I stuck that those things were just there to put water in the bathtub, but I actually, I put 2 of them on the pipe to put water in the bathtub, and the rest I put into a pump to like make it a jacuzzi. And some of them were just perfect for lady pleasuring. So Beth loved that. And every woman who ever stayed any time with me loved that bathtub. Anyway, and she's just going. Then she goes, and you have a dark room. I said, sure do. And she starts to cry. And I said, huh? And I go, no, what's wrong? She goes, I live in a storage closet, and I have to shit in the bucket. Ah! I said, oh, you can live here. What? Yeah. You can live here with me, or you can live over there and make yourself a nice duplex with all those boxes. And she was like, and so, within about 20 minutes, we were up in the pyramid having sex, because at the top of the pyramid, where there were 4 windows, I had built a sleeping loft out of steel studs. And and you had to go up a 12-foot ladder, step on the top, and then step into the bed. So it was like death-defying feat every time you slept up in that thing. And sleeping up there all by yourself, not a big deal, but it's made out of steel studs. If you were up there doing, calisthenics with another gendered person, you were looking at maybe if there was a tensile strength break somewhere, um, you could, because the staircase that went down to the next floor. So if that thing fell, you weren't just falling 12 feet to the floor, you were falling another 35 feet down a staircase. So that's what's that, 50 feet, boom, boom, bam, bam, boom. Yeah. So it's exciting having sex up in that thing. And the view was amazing. And waking up with the sun coming through stained glass, woo, pretty good. So anyway, Donna moved in, and then, we were sleeping, and the music is playing, and we go down, and there's Beth B with her girls. They're all naked, and they're all dancing, and 2 of them are in the bathtub, having a good time. And Donna was like, and who are these people? I said, well, that's Beth, and that's Connie, and that's Susie, and they're all part of Robert Wilson Dance Company, and so am I. This is the dance company. But you're the only guy. I said, yeah, that's true, but it's okay for me. And then the girls laughed. And anyway, this is the point where I'm looking at Don going, is she going to get all upset and storm out and go back to her storage bin? No. She takes her clothes off and starts dancing with the girls. And this is when I said, oh, okay, I thought there was something extra in this girl. And that was the beauty of Donna. She had decided, that was like, oh, I'm scared of everything. But when you just kind of pushed her into it by putting it right in front of her, she would go for it. Right. And that's what I loved about her. And so that's what made our relationship so freaking amazing. And how about now? Can you still hear me? See, I'm not in the car and I don't have the table. Here, well, let's try this. How about that? But then you don't get the tight picture of me. Anyway, but my battery's kind of, we're almost at the red line, and I don't like leaving, letting the show die with the battery. It freaks out the poor YouTube. So anyway, long story short, Don and I were together about 10 years. We actually got married with paperwork, and that's a whole nother story. And Beth stayed our best buddy. And Donna just kept stumbling into who I was. And it dragged her out of that scared scene because when she was in that, she was, and she could, and she had this thing that because of that, and because she didn't deal like most people don't deal with their trauma. Everyone's the biggest problem on earth is that everyone has PTSD, and very very few people deal with that those events. I've been dealing. That's why I'm a shrinky boy. I've been dealing with it my whole life. That's why I analyze everything, right? So anyway, most a lot of guys, my friends, when they first would experience that part of Doc, well, why are you with that bitch? She's so crazy. Well, no, she's not. She's just having an issue that I understand, I see, I appreciate. I help her go from that to being who she really is over here. Right? And over 8 years, she was 99% who she was. That 1%, sometimes you can't you know, scrub it all out. And she's doing fine. She's became world famous. Just what she wanted. She got everything she wanted, right? And she had all these guys in her life that she just took to the washer. So she you know, did pretty good by that. But there's always a cost. And then she became the lesbian photographer, and that's what she wanted to be. And that's kind of she's gotten out of that. She married a scholar guy, a post or pre-pubescent tenured uh, literary professor in Vermont someplace. I don't know if she's still married to him, but about 10 years ago, I saw her and somebody sends people send me stuff that I'm not. The only thing I'm on is this. I have an email address, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Put something on my PayPal, and I have my Mr. YouTube here, the Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. So, Kathleen, how'd you find this place? Did you come through the portal of Johnny Boy and me telling the story of the old crone? It seems that's how most people find this place. And by that, it's quite interesting, right? So, but again, Kathleen, get a hold of me at my email, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and we can talk. I'm going to go see who has, and I don't have access to the internet. I have to drive to it. I'd have to go on some restaurants, YouTube, Wi-Fi, or my neighbor, nice neighbor. Now, Colonel Sanders, he's got at his whole corner, he's got cameras everywhere, so he's got his Wi-Fi everywhere. Comes right into my man cave with like super bars. And I said, why don't you let me, be on your? No, I could. I do all kinds of stuff for him. I clean the road. I do this. I do that. But anyway, but that's people, and people who are scared don't want to share too much, right? They tell you that they do. Oh, I'm a Christian. I love you. You're a great guy. Until they scream at you for being weird. Anyway, so that's the story done. We spent a lot of time traveling the world together. In those 8, 10 years. The first 8 years were great. The next two, she said, "Oh, I want a house a house with a picket fence in the country." I had to I said, "Okay." I got by then I had my master's license. I could take on big jobs, which I normally didn't do because I wanted to be flexible with my life. But I did more of those big jobs. I got into real estate in a responsible kind of way, and I was in the process of making an empire. Um, and so she had our big loft in New York, and I was out in Long Island making an empire. And I was, she also said, "I want to stop DNA because everyone knows you. You're involved in everything, and um, DNA is great, and it's gotten to in the beginning everyone just thought I was your girlfriend and coming along, but now it's like everyone knows it's DNA, and I have respect for what I do, but still it's DNA. I just want it to be D, and I don't want you to be a photographer anymore. You do so much other stuff, go do that." And I said, "Listen, baby." So okay, I will. You know, she wanted me to give her Nikons and my Leicas, my Hasselblad. I said, "Sure, you can have those. I don't care." And I had she really coveted my focal mat, my Leica enlarger. You can have all that. I mean, you're going to keep the loft, the dark. I built her a super duper amazing dark room, right? And I said, well, you're going to stay here. You know, all this stuff is here. It's not going nowhere. It's here, right? But everything I do, I document. I'm a social scientist. I document. She goes, well, the only thing, so I had I was playing around with Diana cameras. Those are the cameras you get at a carnival when you know, instead of a Cupid doll, you get one of those plastic cameras. And it's a great camera. It's 2.25. It's got a pretty good chunk of plastic as lens, and it has a shutter. And some of them actually you can adjust the f-stop, right? And the timing is you hold the shutter open. It's you can 1001, 1002, right? The problem with it, it's made by monkeys, and so it has light leaks, right? So that's not a problem by me. If I didn't want them, I just tape the thing up with electric tape. And so that was our agreement. She'd stay there and be the New York girl. I would come back every now and then, but I had to give her a heads up. I'd have to tell her when I was coming back. I couldn't just show up. And I said, fine, because I already had like 5 other buildings in New York, places to stay. I had my secret hideaways. And so we had a studio on 21st Street. I had a place across the street from the Fulton Fish Market. Um, I had a place on Pearl Street. I had a place it's right in Brooklyn where the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge are. And it's where, when you're on the BQE, you see it's the clock tower. It's where the guys wearing golden underpants have their printing house. And uh, what's his name? Brooke Alexander bought one of those buildings. I took him there. I said, you should buy this. They want 50 grand for a 15-story, 30,000 square foot of floor building made out of concrete and red brick. And look at that view. And he said, you're right. And he bought it right away. And I took the floor I wanted. I said, I'm having this for the rest of my life. He said, not a problem. And see, I never needed, that was my mom. My mom did stuff like that. She was the queen of New York, and no one could say no to her. And so, see, I mean, how old was I? When I was 15, I think, the first time I went to Europe was with my Aunt Grace and my mom. I died when I was 10. They you know, rescued me from the Catholic hospital, and then they nursed me back, and we spent about 2 months in Florida. And she sent my father and the rest of everyone home back to New York in winter. And there was this private club called the Barefoot Mailman just down the street on the beach, right on A1A. This is Pompano Beach. And no, it was like nobody was like living in Poncho. No one was living in Florida. This is 1960, 10 years later, 1960. And so when we were getting ready to go, because we overstayed, it wasn't our house. My father was working for the company. He instantly became their best salesman. And for that, he got to stay 2 weeks at that place. And then my mom told the president, listen, my son is next to death. We can't move him. And he said, okay, you can stay there. Yeah, we have nobody. No one's coming, right? And 2 weeks later, so how you doing? He's still next to death, right? In 2 months. And she was going to the Barefoot Mailman with Aunt Gracie. And they were playing cribbage. And they were playing bridge and backgammon. And all these guys in the card room during the evening would play for big cash. And my mom was racking up the money. She was just eating them alive. And during the day, she would go play with her wives and listen to all their stories because she was getting the backstory of all these guys so she could figure out how to cheat them. And so she had a nice chunk of change when the guy said, listen, you got to go. The vice president is, he's whining that he hasn't been able to stay in the house for the last 2 weeks. And so my mom said, sure, no problem. She called my dad. She goes, listen, Grace, Al, and I are going to Europe. And and we took a plane from Fort Lauderdale to, I don't know if we went to New York, to some place that then, maybe we went to whatever the main airport in Florida that flew to England was where how we got there. I was only 10. And that was my no. I'd been on an airplane before then. I was on airplanes with my dad in the Air Force. So anyway, that was the first time I went with my mom and my Aunt Gracie. Let's see. I can't find it. I'll show it to you another day. Picture of us in Europe. And I became her photographer. You know, she had my dad's Hasselblad, right? And he left it with her. And that's where I really became the photographer. How much time we got? We're in the red zone. Yep, we're in the red zone. Okay, that's enough story times. We'll do another one tomorrow, Saturday. I'll try and do it around. This is a good time. Kathleen, get a hold of me at the dude awake 42 at Gmail. I'll get back to you, and I'll look. I know others have left me stuff, and I haven't been able to look at my emails thoroughly enough to see if other people have gotten a hold of me. I'm going to do that right now. Okay. So I love you guys. See you later.